Hi everyone, my name is Adali Parks and thank you very much for being with me again in Todos and Todo. This is a video podcast that I was thinking about it for many years and finally I put it in action last month with one video podcast every month to introduce yourselves to those people in our community that are very, very important for keeping this town, this community, Todos Santos, as special as it is today. So one of those persons for this month is John Moreno. I'm very honored, John, and very thankful to you and grateful for giving us your time. I know you are an attorney and you are a very busy man. And he received us in his house with his beautiful wife and giving us the time to tell his story. So again,
Good morning.
good morning. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about you, your family?
Sure.
Who is John Moreno?
John Moreno. I'm a dual national. I was originally born in La Paz, but my parents at that time when I was born, they had a small ranch out in La Matanza area that's between La Paz and Todos Santos.
Where it is.
And they were garlic and onion farmers. And my mother is Elena Ratowski. My father is Oscar Moreno. We are fifth generation Sud Californianos. And my grandfather was the president of the Pearl Diving Fisherman Co-op out of La Paz for more than 30 years. Very important figure.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandmother, she was also quite important in organizing women, and she was a founding member of Movimiento Loreto, which was the movement that ultimately ended with the us becoming a sovereign state within the Federation of Mexico.
Okay.
And I've lived in Todos Santos for most of my life. There was a period of time when we lived in the United States for a period. I had some of my formative years. I received some of my education in the States. I have both nationalities, but for the most part, I have been from Todos Santos and raised here in Todos Santos for many, many years, and this is where I consider my home.
Todos Santeños, 100%. That's
right.
good. So I'm not wondering now why you have this passion in yourself, because we know you as an activist, as an attorney, obviously.
Sure.
But most of all, as an activist, and knowing and hearing that your grandma and your mom also are very involved into the good causes, doesn't surprise me much that at such a young age you have created a very strong movement in Todos Santos, especially by protecting Todos Santos. So I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
You know, when I told my friends and my colleagues, I'm going to do this podcast and I'm going to have John Moreno next, say, oh, that's going to be a great hit because we want to know more about him. You know, I know you are very private, your family is very private, but at the same time, you are very public. So this is something that we want to explore a little bit more about it. So let me go to the questions. So what was the turning point in your life that decides for you to become an activist?
Well, there really wasn't a turning point. To be honest, I have been educated, formed, and molded by my parents, by my surroundings, and by my education my entire life.
I see.
And the opportunities that I have had, the life experiences, and the education that I was given at a very young age, I was able to understand certain fundamental truths that as human beings, we are a part of this world, and that our place is not to be the owners and the overlords, but we have a place that's in balance. And in fact, we have a very special and unique position in this world setting. And I am also before I became an attorney, I was a biologist in the state university.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm a marine biologist. I was doing my internship in the CIBNOR, but I understood that there was very little financial future. I love and very passionate about that knowledge, but there's very little future. And I somehow wasn't even in my plans to be an attorney and just became one. But even through the biology standpoint, I understand that we are part of this living organism that's this planet. I consider it to be our mother. And as such, we have a responsibility to keep a balance and to help this world evolve. So I knew that that we need to find our place to be able to provide service towards the greater good, towards finding that balance, that harmony. And so I've always tried to strive for doing things that's worthwhile, that's for the good of ourselves, the earth, and just trying to do the right thing.
Right.
So, and that's kind of been extensive to my surroundings.
I see. Thank you for saying that. I think we all have some way, somehow, that in ourselves, that a little bit of seed of activism, always trying to do the right thing.
Sure.
But for different circumstances, sometimes it's very difficult just to move forward and take the steps or take action,
Absolutely.
So I'm very grateful for in every place and the remote place in our world is always somebody who really cares a little bit more and sacrifice time and to put the work. So thank you. I'm going to ask you, what are the main causes or issues that advocate you for Todos Santos as an activist?
What are the main issues to advocate for here in Todos Santos? There's a few. First and foremost, there is our identity. We're a small town, and we've been thrust, willingly, unwillingly, wanting or not wanting, but we've been thrust into the spotlight and because of our incredible surroundings and our environment, because of our people. And the world seems to be getting smaller, and telecommunications and technology are bringing us together, and more people are coming, and Todos Santos is no longer a small little sleepy town in the desert. It's become known.
Right.
And with more and more people that are coming here, there are certain risks. As a community, we can actually be quite fragile. And for many, many years, we were just a small little agricultural village with fishermen, farmers, and cattle herders. And for many, many years, there was a certain balance, and we were living in that little spectrum. And now with more and more people coming in, opportunities and development, it's our cultural identity, our history and our identity. People should understand and keep the presence of mind that people were originally attracted for being here because it was different from other places. Yes. Because we didn't lock our doors, because we walked everywhere, because there was dust. And all of the essence of being here, that's the identity of who we are. And that needs to be preserved and not changed, altered, or disappeared. The second would be our natural environment, our surroundings. And so we understand that growth is inevitable, but it should be done in the right way. There's good growth and there's bad growth.
Right.
And we need to be able to distinguish and identify what that is. And any growth that is taking away the opportunities that the local population should be enjoying and having, that's bad growth.
Right.
And anything that's harming our environment, our settings, our natural beauty, or our people, that's bad growth. So those are the main things that I think we need to protect and preserve, and that translates into various other things. But those are the main components, the main themes of what needs to be cared for and protected. And there's other details, but for the most part, it's our cultural identity,
right,
and our natural environment. These need to be preserved and protected.
Okay, thank you. It's good to know about your causes, and one of the biggest subjects that pops out for us as a realtors and people that come here as trying to be part of the community is about the dune protection. And this subject, it's actually an official legislation regarding the dunes and the state on the federal law that prohibit construction on the dunes, or is the protection driven by environmental advocacy?
Both. The issue and the matter surrounding the dunes. The dunes are only one natural environment or element component of our general community and surroundings. There are esteros or lagoons, there are arroyos, there are dunes, and the dunes have become a very prominent subject because they're kind of like on the forefront, because since they're on the coastline, there's a big desire and attractiveness in having a front row home, beachside home with the view, but that's right on top of the dune. In many places, not everywhere.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that because of that specialized environment, they should be respected and conserved. There are plenty of other places where people can develop homes, residents, commercial buildings, whatever. There's room for it, but we should also give priority to the natural environment to be left untouched. It's so much better to leave natural settings untouched than to have to come in and try to remediate and rescue them. And since 2012, when the previous municipal administration, they created a PDU, which is a local building ordinance document. It's a master plan for our town. When that came into effect, it was the first time that it provided actual real protection towards the dune. What is that protection? The rule, to synthesize it as much as possible, is that wherever there are coastal dunes, you're only allowed to build after the 30 meters behind the crest of the second dune.
Okay.
In areas where there's only one dune, there should be no construction on that one first primordial dune. On the rest of the dune area, no permanent construction. You can do a natural material palapa, you can do a removable structure, but nothing permanent, nothing with a foundation, nothing cemented in. So these are the restrictions. However, you know, Mexico and our state, we have some pretty good laws. It's not that we are lawless and that we don't have rules and regulations. We have them, and they're fairly decent. They're not bad.
But regarding these issues,
regarding these issues and dunes,
specific dunes,
specifically,
okay.
Where our problem is the enforcement. It's the authorities enforcing the laws that we have. Development is a generator of economics and income, and it does produce income. It's a motor for our economy. To that extent, the municipal government and the state government, they're intent on trying to provide growth opportunities, for the most part, for the local population, but that's extensive to all. Mm-hmm. Our laws do not discriminate against foreigners, and anybody is lawfully able to come and invest in our community. But it should be done in such a way that, first and foremost, it upholds the law, it adheres to the law, right. It's within the legal framework. But this pro-development kind of view, this desire to create more, to grow the economy, to create more opportunities, the municipal and state governments believe that they should be pro-development. That's kind of their model, their thinking. And to that extent, they provide a lot of leeway and a lot of flexibility for builders and developers. And on some occasions, we have straight out, we have to say it sometimes, there is some corruption in our system. Mm-hmm. And people can get permits, or people who come down and have less scruples, they'll build even without permits. And this has created this disparity where there are some of the, let's be very honest and transparent, some of the houses that are on the dunes, I think 2 or 3, mm-hmm. were built before the regulation came into effect.
Okay.
Since the regulations have come into effect...
Are you talking about since 2012?
Yes, okay. Correct. Since then, only about 3 others have come into effect, and 2 of those are completely illegal. What we have here is a system that, in order to enforce the laws, there needs to be a complainant. Even though there should be oversight, many times the authorities, either for a lack of funding, a lack of personnel, or a lack of political will, they won't come out and supervise, they won't come out and inspect, much less sanction someone or ask somebody to remediate. So this is what creates the disparities that we see, where if we go and we read the PDU, it says that it's not lawful, it's prohibited to build on the first dune, yet we see it happening. And there are economic factors that are pushing this, because those lots, it still is private property, mm-hmm. and they can be lawfully sold.
So if it's fair to say then that exist laws, but the laws are not enforced or are not clear enough, so authorities can twist it and play a little bit around it to provide, according to their benefit, permits to be on the law.
That's exactly right.
This is one of the questions that us as realtors have a hard time with it. We in the agency, for example, we don't sell dunes, right? We try to avoid, because maybe it's a lack of information, so we probably don't try to go there. Sure. Because the controversy and the whole baggage comes with it.
That's right.
So we're always trying to tell our clients, just no, mm-hmm. we don't go there. But what can be, in your opinion, what can be the right answer for us when somebody says, I just want to be in the beach, I want to be in the dune? What you will tell, or if you were a realtor, to our client as the right answer?
So these lots became private property before the advent of the PDU. So they are lawful properties, and they can be purchased and sold. However, PDUs limit and restrict the lawful manner in which one can dispose of their property and what they can do on their property. And this has the force of law. They're not just suggestions, they're not just guidelines. It is the force of law.
Right.
So there are provisions in our laws that says anything that goes against the PDU is null and void and should be removed. That's literal wording. What would I tell someone? I would say, can you purchase a dune lot? Yes, you can purchase a dune lot, but what you can lawfully do is severely limited. People who have approached me to ask me what they should do if they have one, I say, try to reinforce the natural environment and use it as for what it is. Do not alter and change it. Don't try to put a condominium Don't try to exploit it for a huge payday and to get money out of it. It's a beautiful natural environment that should be preserved and protected for what it is. And there are certain incentives that the municipal government provides. If you have other property, you can transfer your density and your allotments for what you can do on that lot onto a different lot, and you can get greater benefits. And that's something that is seldomly used, and it's there for a reason, so that there are these options of preserving natural environments. So I would just say you can buy it, but you will get a lot of opposition.
Yes.
And what you can lawfully do will be severely restricted, mostly to non-permanent buildings.
Right. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Let's move a little bit into sustainable growth of Todos Santos and inclusion. How you mentioned about the balance that we need, right?
Yeah.
Growth is inevitable, you know, it's gonna happen.
Yep.
People are still coming in, you know. People want what we already have. And me as a realtor, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. I find myself in two sides, you know, in a conflict, because I'm not even a local. I mean, I'm from San Luis Potosí, but living 30 years in Los Cabos. My husband and I, you know, retired here. Well, he retired, I thought, but we find this place special. So we enjoy it, where this special place has given us the peacefulness, the tranquility, the fresh water, have fresh fish, fresh vegetables, affordable living, etc., etc. It's people that want what we have already. So to balance that growth, it's a question here that how residents seeking this unique charm with needs can become part of a community in a responsible way. How we can not close the door to those who want what we enjoy already, and keep the balance, because we cannot tell people don't come or don't build or don't live here. You know, how you can, in your own opinion, we can keep that balance of the growth in Todos Santos that is affecting because the lack of other issues that I'm gonna talk to you about later.
The best way of achieving that balance is by knowing our own limits. There is a misguided understanding or a misguided thought and belief that growth is limitless, and that's simply not true. We need to know our limits, and by knowing our limits, we know how and when to be able to develop ourselves. This knowing our limits will know the best way to use the resources that we have, so that they're not depleted, that they're not extinguished, that they're not overused, exhausted, disappeared, destroyed, and altered, so that at the end of 10 years, Todos Santos is a shell of what it used to be. I've had the privilege to live here before it was popular.
Right.
And it was difficult to live here. Before,
you
didn't have all the communications. There was a 2-lane highway that was super dangerous. It was hard you couldn't get things shipped here from outside or from the States, and it was expensive. There was very low quality phone services. Here in Todos Santos, you could get one TV channel and you had to put an antenna up a palm tree, and it was difficult to live here. People didn't live here because it was easy and they had all these accommodations. It was dusty and no infrastructure, and people loved it. And people were drawn to it. There is a special spirit here that people can identify and want to be a part of. So And that can be changed, that can be altered, that can be destroyed.
Right.
So by knowing our limits, we will be able to do planning. What we want to do, we have right next door to the south of us, Cabo San Lucas, as a perfect example.
Right.
We need to learn from those lessons. Cabo has good things and Cabo has bad things, but more than anything, it has lessons to teach us.
Yes.
So we need to understand that planning is good. We want planning.
Right.
We are not against creating PDUs and master plan and rules and regulations. We want them. What we don't want is chaos and disorder and disarray and everybody doing what they want to. No. So the thing is, we need to have urban development planning that is truly of and for and from the people, that it comes from us, because we are the ones who know our own needs. We know what the problems are. We know what the solutions are. We know where everything is and how it needs to be distributed. So by knowing our limits, the limit of our territory, that allows us to know what our resources are. That allows us to know who our population is. That allows us to know what environments we have, so we can identify the in natural environments that need to be preserved and protected, so that we can properly manage our water, our accesses to the beach, and all of these things, so that whoever wants to come here, within that framework, within that vision,
Right.
that should be respectful to the community and to the local population and their cultural heritage and identity, that is proper development. That is going to be a formula that allows us to achieve that balance and to preserve the things that are most crucial and important to us, that attracted us to be here in the first place.
You just respond the next question was about responsible development, right? So you just said to us that do you think that sometimes I think people come looking for land to develop,
Right.
residential land,
Yep.
knock on doors of any real estate office in towns, and sometimes it's people from the mainland, they don't know anything. That they already built and invest in Cancun and the Ribera Maya and other places around our country. But when they come here, they found themselves a little bit on hesitation about different topics, especially the water.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the biggest issues that we think is in crisis right now. And with limited rainfall, for example, I heard that last year was the worst drought that we have for many, many, many years.
That's right.
That is one of the concerns for my neighbors, or the people that really care about these big developments coming to town and continue to develop big projects with high density. So what action should be the authorities taking regarding this lack of water? What do you think the authorities can help, or us also as a part of the community, to ensure that we can have water for the foreseeable future?
You're absolutely right. This is the most crucial and important subject that we are facing as a community, as developers, as conservationists, all across the spectrum. Water touches and affects us all. And we are going through a severe drought. We're still going, that drought that you mentioned from that, they're still suffering from it now. What can the authorities do? First and foremost, the authorities need to provide leadership. And to be able to provide leadership, they need to be honest and transparent, and they are not doing that. Right now, they are hiding the numbers, of what our actual resources are, all of our statistics, and the actual true reality surrounding our water that we all depend on. And they are painting a different picture. Why are they doing that? Because it limits the ability to grow. It limits, and it should inform and be taken into account when they are issuing their permits and building permits and building license. So what should they be doing? They should be providing leadership and organizing us and allowing us to plan out and to create infrastructure. When I was much younger, Sagarpa had a huge program that would, Sagarpa, agricultural, cattle ranching, still exists.
Wow, haven't heard from it.
They had a huge rural employment program where ranchers, people from town, they would create anti-runoff small little rows of rocks across plains. They would create dikes in all of the arroyos. I think programs such as this should come back so that I think it's something like 90% of the rain goes to the ocean in the form of runoff, and only 10% goes into our aquifer. We need to create a series and system of dikes so that we capture more water and it's deposited in our aquifer. We need to upgrade, expand, and renew our infrastructure so that it's very well maintained. And we need to have our own, the control of our own income produced by OMSAPAS. Right now, currently, La Paz takes a lot of our income and does not reinvest it in our infrastructure.
Yeah,
and furthermore, when we have people that are trying to do big developments, we have people who want to come down and build a home, and that's great, that's fine. That is growth that on its own can be controlled and sustainable.
Right.
But somebody who wants to come in and put in a 50-room hotel, a 100-room hotel, or a big venue, or multiple, or 1,000 homes in one development, these are huge impacts. And before I want to hear anything about their development and how great it is, I want to hear what those developers are going to be doing to invest in our community.
Right.
My position is we're all going to depend on one another. Let's invest in each other. If you come here and you buy into the vision of what Todos Santos is, of what that region is, are respectful of the heritage, and want to invest within that vision and bring yourself within that legal spectrum, and you are willing to invest in us, we need more schools. We need more roads. We need another hospital. We need more ambulances. We need more police vehicles. And the growth is happening at such a fast pace. The municipal government, with their budget, they can't provide for it. They cannot keep up. And at a certain point, nor should they. People who are coming in and want, with speculative purposes, they're not coming here to do us a favor. We're giving them part of our resources. Right. We're giving them part of our treasure, our collective treasure.
Yeah, we're putting them in the table for
and
eating.
They're using it to generate their income.
Right.
It's not theirs.
Yes.
We're providing that. They're making it happen. Great. Let's work together. If you want to come in and do 100 hotel rooms, I want to know what roads you're paving. I want to know how many ambulances you're providing and how many becas for university and higher education for our kids. And if you do that, and if you invest in us, and we negotiate it out so that you're within the scope and within the realm, and you invest in us, we're going to protect you. You're one of us, and we're going to embrace you, and we're going to lift you. If you lift us, we're going to lift you. That is how we should. And the municipal authorities, they're not doing that. And with the PDUs and our planning documents, instead of doing real planning, what is real planning? Knowing what we have to work with, knowing our critical problems, so that we can deal and resolve them with our growth instead of making them worse.
Right.
And our quality of life goes down, and the value of our properties go down, and the opportunities for our community, for our kids, go down. That's not what we want.
Yeah. It's basically looking for those developers who have a consciousness about the lacking in Todos Santos, and have the willing to, like you said, to add on, not take
Correct.
off.
Exactly.
Right. My husband was telling me last night, about a desalinization plant.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good solution, probably, to have it here. But he said it's a huge investment. Do you think our authorities are ever thought about that or looking into that? Because I know it's Capo and Cabo San Lucas, but they don't get enough water, even with those two, for the communities there. And I'm just wondering if that can be one option, do you think?
Yes. Is it an option? Yes. Is it the silver bullet and the magic solution? No. It has a whole series of issues that are not minor. And furthermore, historically, Mexico has a story of the population always getting the short end of the stick and not getting the best opportunity. And we need to stop that. We need that whatever happens here is for the benefit of everyone, not just a few people. To that effect, there are limits on how many desal units can be over any given distance. So if there's already one approved and the mining company already has one as well,
that's another issue.
There is a limit to what the population can get. So why would we be giving these permits, which are limited, why would we be giving them to developers? Those are the opportunity for the community. Why did they just get that? If they want that, if anyone, such as right now, there's Cabo Santos is having its public consultation. They are proposing a desal unit, but it's only going to provide their development with water. I don't agree with that. If they want to if any developer wants to do a desal unit, they should be allowed to, but it should be connected to the public water system so that it's water for everyone, not just for them. Because what we cannot do, and what is not, does not help us achieve that balance, is islands of opulence and then islands of misery and lacking and no infrastructure and a ghetto and a favela.
Yeah, let's not go too far. Cabo San Lucas.
We need to have all the neighborhoods in tip-top quality. Not just you guys who are catering to a foreign market for hospitality or for tourism. The tourism will come. It'll come on its own. We don't need to market it. If we create a special place for ourselves, for the benefit of ourselves, everybody else is going to want to come anyways. We should be our own priority. We should be developing to create a better space for ourselves and be able to share that with who wants to come here to enjoy that.
Yeah, thank you. Biggest challenges. This is a question that I know it's very personal to you, because investigating a little bit more about you, preparing my interview with you, I found videos when you were private of your freedom, of your liberty. I think that took a big toll in your family and your parents. And is this the biggest challenge that you have faced?
In being incarcerated, has that been the biggest challenge that I've faced in my personal life? Yes. And it took a huge toll on my immediate family, on my wife, on my kids, on myself, on my parents. It made me lose business opportunities. It made me lose people who I thought were my friends. It made me, after leaving, after being freed, I suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and had to go through therapy and spent a lot of money, and it was hard. So on a personal level, yes, it was the most difficult. And that's not even mentioning the details of what I lived being incarcerated inside. And we'll leave that for a different time. But yes, it was very, very difficult. Probably the most difficult thing that I've had to go through in my life. However, at the same time, would I want to do it again? No, I wouldn't want to relive it. Would I redo it again? Yes, I would. I think I'm a better person having lived that. And I wouldn't change anything that I did live. And it taught me a lot, and it's giving me a lot. And even though we did suffer a bit, we're also stronger for it. And so I wouldn't change anything. It's a reality that I wish we didn't live in, but it is that reality, and we need to be aware of it to whatever extent is necessary. Will it keep me from doing my work? No, because anything that is of value and importance is not going to be easy, and it's not going to come freely. So we need to put forth that effort. And if any one person has any conviction and wants to create a meaningful change or impact something in any meaningful way, they're going to have to give a part of themselves. They're going to have to work for it. They're going to have to put in energy, dedication. That's what it takes. It's not going to happen on its own. So if you want to create that impact, you have to go out and do it. You have to make it happen. And that's what it takes sometimes. And that's why it's not easy. But it's worth it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Knowing that it's a few organizations around downtown, that are contributing to keep the place some way, somehow functional. These organizations of volunteers there are in our community can be the protection of the dogs, the protection of Todos Santos in general, the Zero Basura, the people who cares about the big, huge problem we have with the trash. Padrino organization, for example, that is also huge, helping with the kids with the healthy issues. I can see, and I always wondering why seems like it's more action always from the foreigners to be involved and to care about this, doing the right thing for Todos Santos or for everybody. And then the local nationals, Mexicans, that we live here. Seems like the leaders are always, not in UK's, but seems they always from other parts of the country, they came to be in Todos Santos, they love the place, they care about it, and they want to give back to the community by volunteering and putting work on it. How we can invite the nationals, the local, the Mexican people to have more participation on these organizations, to Zoom to the good work that we putting on it, that you are putting on it. How is your opinion? How we can integrate them, or how we can motivate them? Because I will really like to go sometimes to the meetings, and I see it's a lot of Canadians, Italians, Americans, and there's 2 or 3 Mexicans there, right?
Sure.
Do you think that is a problem, or what is your opinion on it?
It is an issue. It is an issue. We need to give it time. Given our history, we've had a difficult history as a nation that is being born and coming into awareness and consciousness of itself. We've had a hard time. And we've had a lot of foreigners, and I don't want to get into controversy, but a lot of foreign influence trying to take stuff away from us. So we've have a certain ingrained natural distrust. And we still have that. We're still lingering. We've been invaded twice by the United States. So we have history. There's a trust thing.
Right.
But we're in a good end. I always see people coming in. And some people, they freely want to integrate. They're learning the language. They're going and visiting their neighbors. They're here to be here. And other people that, I mean, it's their right, but they want to be here, but they don't want to mix in. And that's okay. I get it. But this creating different groups and staying divided, it doesn't help. It only reinforces that you want to come, you want to buy our cheap land, you want to have our cheap economy, our cheap labor, but you don't want to speak the language, you don't want to go to the pozolada, you don't want to. There's not a real integration. We need real integration. We need real integration. Furthermore, we have our own political history where historically we have been so disenfranchised as Mexicans that it got to the point where we no longer believed we could exercise our rights, where we could speak our mind. So a lot of times foreigners, they have a lot more trust in that right to speak out, to demand things of their government.
Right.
Mexicans aren't used to that idea of having the right to demand things of their government. That was a bad thing to do. That could cost you a lot of hardship.
Jail.
Still.
Jail.
So that is kind of what I see is going on, but we need to integrate. We're all in this together, and all of us together are going to provide the solution. So we do need to empower more people of their local population. We need to have more educated people. We need to bring people back.
Right.
A lot of our local community, before, land and being here, when you're from there, you don't know really much of a difference. But people who are from different places, they know immediately how unique and special we are.
Yeah, seems like people who come from other places,
they see it immediately. They're like, oh my
God,
God, this is paradise.
Right.
And if you're from here and this is all you've ever known,
exactly,
it's kind of like the run of the mill. I remember people would trade big lots for a truck, for a car, for this and that. And now somebody locally here, it's very difficult for them at this stage in their lives to buy a piece of land in Todos Santos.
Right. Yep.
So we need to create incentives to have our young people go out, get educated, but come back. That there are opportunities here. See, those are the people that need to be taking the opportunities that Todos Santos has.
Right.
And if you're not from here, but you recognize how special and unique it is, if you are truly wanting to add something and provide to that vision, create opportunities for others so that they can take those positions. And it'll happen. And many people do. Mm-hmm. And I applaud them. I have tremendous respect for the people who do that. And for other people, well, that's how life is.
So be it.
That's how life is.
Right. I can feel your passion, and you can feel the energy And
it's important.
and it's very exciting because, it takes a lot of time from your work, from your family, to continue this. So what keeps you motivated to keep going?
It does. It's very difficult. It does take away time from my wife. She's given me her opinion on that subject many times.
I will.
We've had our issues. And Todos Santos is worth it. Todos Santos is so worth it. We're so special. We have no even idea. And there's all these other places everywhere else. But my focus is right here. We have the opportunity to show the world. We have the opportunity to be a referente, to be a example of how to do it right and keeping it special and showing up and becoming the stewards of our own destiny and creating something special. And right now, we're in a crucial junction, because right at this very moment, we're at a point where we can go down a proper path of sustainable, organized growth and development into reinforcing and creating something unique and special that everybody in the world will want to come and visit us. Or we can go down another path where capital interest is the guiding light, and making money is the law of the land, and where non-sustainable development destroys us as a community. And there are other examples. And that fiber, that fabric that brings us together, that unites us, those traditions and those values can disappear. That is such a tragedy.
So you think we still have time to choose?
We're right there. We're right there. And
time is critical.
This whole thing about Cabo Santos, about Tres Santos, and all of these big developments, this is going to determine all those, the big dogs, all of those big developers. They need to understand and realize, and they need to approach us. They need to reach out. Whoever those people are in this territory, because there's not too many. It's very interesting. The land, it's already pretty much divided up. Our territory, there aren't really too many big properties that can be developed in a massive scale. So we have Cabo Santos, that's right here. It's the forefront.
Right.
It's the kind of the corazon. It's got La Posa Hill, goes down to Punta Lobos. It's in the very center of the growth. Then we're going north to Playitas. We're integrating into Pescadero. We already know who the main players are. And it's interesting because they need to understand that they need us, and we also need to recognize that we need them. And together we can create the reality that we all want. If they're looking for money, they need to understand that doing it right and keeping it special, not just how many maximum units can I stick in a specific property.
Right.
How many keys can I get out of this project? What's my bottom? How much can I sell it for after 10 years of developing? Forget about that. It's not about making you money here. If you want to come and develop here, do it for the cause. Do it and come and dream up the biggest and best dream you could and make that happen.
Right.
And we're still in time, but we have to mobilize, and people need to realize and understand, but there is still time, but it's going away fast.
Yeah.
We need to act on it.
We need to act fast. John, what is the most rewarding thing as an activist that you have experienced? Tell us something that make you feel that you were worth what you're doing, was worth what you're doing.
Anytime that there's a specific spiritual principle that my parents taught me when I was really young, that as a human being, whenever another human being approaches you or needs help in any certain way that needs help, and it's within your reach to do so,
right.
we have a certain responsibility. We have a certain obligation. If it's within your reach, you don't need to go and put yourself out or suffer for someone else. That's not what I'm saying. But if someone needs help and you can, you should. And being able to make a difference in other people's lives is a huge part of the satisfaction that I get out of the work that I do. Not only that, knowing for myself that I am acting on my principles, my convictions, and doing what I believe is true and correct, that's, for the most part, that's sufficient for me.
Good. Good to know. So, just to finish,
yes,
I just don't want to take too much of your time. If you can send a message to our listeners from the podcast Todos and Todo, what would your message be in today's situation that we live in Todos Santos?
Let's live in beauty. Let's live in beauty. Let's, everybody, wherever it is, your field of action, your themes of interest, act on it with passion. Do it in such a way that you're bringing something and adding to it, and come out and mobilize. Let's keep this place something really special, not for ourselves, for future generations. She's worth it. So everybody can help. Everybody has something that they can provide towards that goal. Just because, don't feel that you don't have any power, that you're irrelevant. All together, we're going to make this change. So get active, get informed, become a part of it, and come out and do something nice for Todos Santos. So don't just sit there, and don't be a spectator. Get involved, and help. Let's all get to this goal. We can all get there together.
Yes. So get off your couch, find out where you can volunteer in Todos Santos. It's a few organizations that I'm sure some of those can be a good fit for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
To open the door of your house for us.
Oh, it was wonderful. You're very welcome.
Thank you to you all for listening, for being here with us. And give us your comments and subscribe to Todos and Todo. We are in YouTube. I will send you the information below. Thanks. Bye-bye. Gracias. Good job.
Thank you.